Well, it's been quite a series in Sri Lanka. So many incidents, both on and off the field. But for the final time from Colombo, Sri Lanka, India versus Sri Lanka T20 International, we come to you on Cricbuzz Live. This is what we have lined up for you today. It's going to be a final game, but it's not just for us that it's the final time. For Team India, this could be their one last chance before the T20 World Cup that comes around very soon. Zaheer Khan, Harsha Bhogle joining me. Gentlemen, never mind, I'm not getting sentimental that it's our last show together, but I think the importance of being the last game should be not lost on Team India.
Gautam, I don't know what to say. It's our last show together. There will be many more. Don't worry. There will be many more. All I'm hoping for from today's game is a slightly better surface. I know Zach said the other day, it was a 160 surface if you had batted well, but India almost defended 130. So the pitch report says different pitch, fresh surface, slightly dry, but still 150, 160. Let's wait and see. I don't think anything's going to be different from the last game for India at least. So they've got to win with what they have.
Yeah, but again, like at the start, one of the conversations we had, Zaheer, at the start of the one-day series was dual purpose. Of course, you want to win any competition, any cricket match, any sporting event, really. But when you've got another agenda, selecting a team, big event coming up, World Cup coming up, you have to balance the two agendas, don't you?
You have to, but I think at the moment the way things are going, I don't think that that has been the very big concern. I would say you have a big pool of players to select from, so so that makes it a little easier. Also, the rules around how the squad size is going to be, that is also not defined, and it's expected to be on the larger side. So that makes it easier for selectors also to have enough backups. Have just put players whoever you want. You can literally have a backup for virtually each of the playing 11 guys. And if that is going to be the case, then I don't see it as a big concern. Yes, there will be excitement around, and we would want to see who is part of that 15. Because even if you have a bigger squad, I'm sure they'll have to announce that 15 and possibly just have the players being picked from there, unless and until you have a forced change, which for that you'll have the replacement. But I think pretty much looks like it's going in this direction.
That's what we hope. That's what we feel. But if we just have a look at a few select spots, I guess the biggest talking point, Harsha, at the start of the series was the skipper himself. Not just because we wanted to look at him, but because he wanted to look at himself, and he threw his hat in the ring. And being Gabbar, it would be only a very different kind of hat.
Yes, but I'll go beyond what Zach said as well, that the second agenda, which was to look at key players over there, Shikhar Dhawan is the only one really now who's pushing for that spot, because Ishan Kishan he's not playing, Surya Kumar Yadav he's not playing, Hardik Pandya, we wanted to learn more, he's not playing. Could Krunal Pandya push and say, maybe I'm offering a little bit more, he's not playing. So really it's Shikhar and Bhuvi now whom you need to look at. Has Shikhar done enough? I mean, on tracks like those, you want to look at them and say Shikhar made 40 from 42 balls. And say, nah, we don't want that kind of innings. But the surfaces there are going to be completely different. The team composition is going to be completely different. So can you look at these numbers by Shikhar from Shikhar Dhawan? 86 of 95 in one-day international. I still think that's his best format. Was fantastic. 46 from 36 was good, but by the time you came to the second game, the whole game changed completely. So I'm actually feeling a bit for Shikhar Dhawan, who must have come here thinking, you know what, I'll show that I can. And suddenly roles have changed, pitches have changed, and so there's not much to learn from here.
But Zaheer, I know you said that they may not be looking that closely at it, but I'm sure if Shikhar has made that statement, he'll certainly be conscious of it. He was probably hamstrung in that last game because of the circumstances with the squad, Bhuvi batting at 6. I know we kept saying it, but it's a fact. It's a fact. He had to play that 40 or 42, and others had to bat around him.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it even more difficult, right? And that's the reason I'm saying that yes, it started off as that kind of a series, but I think the way how it's evolving, it just kind of took another turn. So yes, you would want to see all the young brigade who is taking part in this these last couple of matches. So it's shifted that focus from being the primary focus of looking at maybe what's coming a year, 6 months down the line, or just a few months down the line, the big tournament, from that to just seeing now, what are the youngsters we have and what more options do we have. So it would have been like that, but now as we look at the last game here, I don't think the series has gone in that direction with regard to the selection for the big World Cup.
But yeah, there are several spots. We talked about Shikhar Dhawan, we talked about Bhuvneshwar Kumar a lot in the last game. But in terms of mystery spinners, let's try and throw one more agenda in there. We've pretty much concluded round the world, every team likes to look for a mystery spinner. It could be a wrist spinner with variety. It could be someone who doesn't really have a definition, Harsha. Varun Chakravarti is the only one who fits into that role in Team India.
And I'll be very interested in seeing what Virat and Ravi think about Varun Chakravarti. I know they were very keen to play him in Australia just to see how he fits in there. But if you look at the way the Indian team is structured, Bumrah is going to play. If Bhuvi is not fit, there might be a Chahat, but there'll be one other fast bowler maybe somewhere who won't bat. Bumrah won't bat, Chahal won't bat, Chakravarti won't bat. So I don't see Chahal and Chakravarti both playing together. So really, it's up to the team management to see how they regard Chakravarti, because I think he's fighting for the same spot. I'm almost certain that he will be in the squad, because I foresee the squad to be much, much bigger than just 15, given the very strict quarantine rules in the UAE. I foresee that squad to be much bigger. So I'm almost certain he will be in the squad. Now, once he is in the squad, they might look at certain teams and say, yeah, okay, maybe against this team, Chakravarti instead of a Chahal. Or if you get a really slow track one day, then we'll play both if Hardik is going to function as the third seamer. But from what we've seen of him so far, he's bowled a difficult overs. I noticed last year for KKR, he was doing that too. And I thought on that pitch, he looked the best spinner. Kuldeep got his wickets and had one bad over, so let's be fair to Kuldeep. But I thought he bowled excellently. The one thing I would like to see in those numbers, and I know we've got numbers comparing Varun Chakravarti with all the other spinners too, is I think people have started playing him out, which is also a sign of respect for him, because his economy rate has come down and his strike rate has gone up a little bit. Look, economy rate 6.95 is very good, even though he's bowling into the end. But see the average and the strike rate. He's not taking as many wickets as a Chahal, because I think they're starting to play him out a little more safely.
Yeah, I think if you had a look at that particular list, the king of being played out in the modern era is Rashid Khan. And
he still takes wickets.
He still gets wickets.
Yeah.
But there are those 4 overs, none for 16 type spells that are still coming. He had that in the 100. He had the first game where he went wicketless. They were cautious. Second game, he comes man of the match. So, I mean, there is that scenario. But Zaheer, looking at those numbers for Varun Chakravarti, it's all about where you want to use him. And where do you see his most effective spot in the side where he'd bowl?
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting how Indian team is going to look at achieving that balance. And that ball balance which we often talk about when Hardik is playing. So, you have, if Hardik is playing as a third seamer, then that gives you option to play extra spinner. And if that option is going to bowl in the new ball, so if you're playing with the 3 spinners in the playing 11, you need one of your spinners to bowl with the new ball. Then you are able to stack up those overs. Otherwise, you will never be able to stack up those overs if your bowler, one of the spinners, is not bowling those 2 overs in the power play. And we've seen that in this series itself. When Saini didn't bowl, they used the 5 bowlers. They had to bowl 2 overs of spin in the power play. Even when Krunal played, he bowled 2 overs of spin. If you're looking at that kind of balance, then your all-rounder becomes very important. And you can go in with just Bumrah and one fast bowler which you pick. If you want the experience of Bhuvneshwar, so be it. Someone who can bowl with the new ball, or you have someone like Deepak Chahar who is going to add with the bat as well at the back end with that power. Maybe batting at number 8. So those are the kind of questions which are going to be interesting for us to also see. What direction the team is going in. Nonetheless, if you see the opposition and you see the big teams, they've been struggling against spin. You just take out the numbers of all the power hitters. Pace off has been working against them. So if that is the case, then it's better to go in with the 3 spin option, then which means you will have to look for those options and look for those answers within the group within the pool of player which you have to select from. So if they're going in that direction, then Varun Chakravarti is also going to come into play. You've seen the other names also there, right? Like, you have Aksar, you have Ravindra Jadeja as well, and you have Rahul Chahar and Yuzvendra Singh. So I think Yuzvendra Chahal, sorry. So basically, all these names are going to be definitely around. It's just that what direction your coach, your captain, your selectors, they decide on. I think that coming together is going to be very important. If they all are on the same page, all these answers are going to get answered in a very, very systematic manner.
I'll just take on quickly a little bit more from what Zach is saying. You look at all of India's bowlers today. You're looking at, in the Premier list, you're looking at Bumrah, Shami, Ishan, Siraj. Right? To some extent, Umesh, but I'm not including Umesh in that list for a reason. Then look at the bowlers who are here. There's Prasidh Krishna over there as well. Here you've got Sandeep Warrior, you've got Navdeep Saini, you've got Chetan Sakaria, you've got Arshdeep Singh, you've got all these guys there. Not one of them bats. Varun Chakravarti doesn't bat. Kuldeep Yadav doesn't bat good enough to bat at 8. Chahal doesn't bat. Chahar not good enough to bat number 8 for India. That is what is causing the problem with the balance in the side. If one of them was good enough to bat 7-8, then the whole balance issue could have been resolved. You might even have said, okay, on a good day, Jadeja 7, I'll look at someone else who's 8. But because none of India's bowlers bat, which is a big worry in the going ahead, your balance will always get affected with the choices that you have.
Well, one of the names you mentioned in there is in the side. I'll come to that in a moment. Just to remind everyone, India will be setting a score again. Shikhar Dhawan has won the toss and decided that that's what they want to do. Get those batting, the batters, the 5 batters, that's all they're going to have to try and set a score. The only change, Navdeep Saini out in a very poignant moment we saw a few minutes ago. Sandeep Warrior receiving his cap from Paras Mambre, and from what we believe, he was overcome with emotion, Harsha. He was in tears just picking up that cap. And that, I think, sums up what it means to be given a cap, particularly when you have got there not expecting to play.
It does, but he's got an hour and a half to get over there. In an hour and a half, he's an India player. And he's coming there, he's running in, he's bowling to take wickets to win a game for India. So he's got to forget the entire emotion aside and say, you know what, I waited for this all my life. Now I'm not going to let the emotion of the moment overcome the way I'm going to bowl. I'm going to bowl like it's another game. I'm going to bowl like I do. But yeah, it's a huge moment. I mean, his career has also been so up and down, suddenly very promising, then little injury, then again, down again, up again. So I actually thought they'd play Arshdeep, but maybe they think that Sakaria and Arshdeep might be too similar. They've already got Sakaria, so maybe they wanted someone else. Fresh pitch, they might think there's a little bit more to it, so maybe they wanted someone who's got a little more fizz. So all the best to Sandeep Warrior.
Let's come to the fast bowler, Zaheer. For someone who's had a tough time, often he was even in the news for the wrong reasons when the whole COVID positive, I won't call it debacle, but the whole COVID positive knock-on effect happened on the entire tournament. Obviously, he would have been in focus over there. So all that to shrug off, as Harsha said, in 90 minutes, to tell yourself, soak in the emotion, but go out there and represent the country.
Well, actually, the Sandeep Warrior has been part of RCB when I was playing for RCB. So he's come a long way, and the emotions I can relate to is because of that. Like, he was this young kid who had joined the RCB squad and was wanting to bowl really quick. And he was very quick at that stage, with that awkward angle which he used to create, and then later on had some serious shoulder injury, which kept him away from the game for a while. So I think all those emotions must be coming out right now. It's just the journey has not been easy for him. Playing Ranji Trophy regularly, being part of an IPL team, then falling out of the circuit, and then making. Crawling back up, I think so that is something which all the journey must have made him emotional right now, and I feel for him because I've seen how he had started and where he has reached now. Last couple of years playing so consistently well and making an impact at this level.
Yeah, the 44 wickets he got in one particular Ranji season, probably 18 or 19, one of those two. It was the 1890 season, and that when Kerala actually made it to the semi-final, Harsha, and that is something that will stand you in good stead. Take the wickets, and for a I keep calling them franchise, for a state that is not necessarily in your top 4 in Ranji Trophy, I think that will make a difference to him.
But a state that's starting to produce more and more good players. So I'm delighted for him. Eventually, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. So we'll have to wait and see how he goes. My feeling is he'll get the game. I don't know how similar the surface will be to the surface we had the other day when Nitin Saini was playing, just because, I mean, he was on 2 feet and fit and had to play and is not anymore. But economy of 7.29, if he can deliver that, it's not too bad. I'd like to see the strike rate. He's getting about a wicket and a bit per game, which is also not too bad. So if he can deliver that, I think we're good. I don't know what the track is going to be like, because Sri Lanka have made an unusual change. Sri Lanka have gone another batsman. So they obviously believe that those little bowlers of theirs would be good enough on this pitch. So not just Hasaranga and Dhananjaya, but also Dhananjaya De Silva and Mendes, and all of them be good enough. So they've gone with an extra batsman. So our good friend, Mr. Karunaratne, I don't know where he's going to bat now.
And our other good friend, who happens to be the captain of the team, might bowl a full 4 overs. But I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But Zaheer, just to finish off on Sandeep Warrier, I mean, the person. I remember doing an event with the KKR team, and just when you thought he was one of the outsiders, they gave me a list of players. There was Andre Russell, all the big names, and Sandeep Warrior was thrown into this lot, and he held his own. He was more outspoken than an Andre Russell in an event type scenario. I don't know if he was like that in the RCB scenario time.
But he has always been like that. That's one thing. He would come and ask questions. He would try and understand how one should go about getting better at adding more skills. So that's something he was very open with. I think as he played more and more seasons of cricket, it's just understanding of his own bowling has gone up. And maybe after that shoulder surgery, if you see that everyone wants to bowl as quick as possible. I was no exception. The journey is pretty much the same. When you're young, you want to bowl, you want to break the head of the batsman, bowl those bouncers, and overdo it at times. So afterwards, you kind of realize, what really matters is that wicket column, and how you can create that impact. So I think Warrior also has been through that journey. And when I saw him play for KKR, he was keeping things very simple. With the new ball, you often get caught with the format. And I think that one thing consciously he has overcome, that rather than trying different things, he had just kind of simplified things by just focusing on that good length area and just keep attacking there. And that's something which he has done well. So as a bowling unit, it's very important for all the bowlers also to understand that what kind of role you are playing. When you look at the batting lineup as well, right? You have power hitters, so they're specialized in playing a particular role. Similarly, for bowlers also, you can actually really specialize in just focusing on one area and getting really, really good at it. And I think in Warrior's case, that has happened with the conscious effort from him.
I'm thinking one other bowler. He gets picked in the Indian team to go to England as a reserve bowler. But there are already 6 fast bowlers in the side. So he's picked really as a 7th. For him to break into the test side, a lot of things have to happen. But he's probably thinking, see, Natarajan played a test match in Australia. Who knows? I might get a test match there. But if he had not been picked, I'm talking about Prasidh Krishna. If he had not been picked for that England tour as a net bowler, he would have been playing almost every game over here. So it's amazing. In these COVID times, you never know what is happening, where careers are taking you, where you're going next. You just get up every morning and say, Lord, what are you giving me today? And I'll take it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have imagined you're playing in the blue of India and there's no Virat Kohli, no Rohit Sharma, no Rishabh Pant, none of these aggressors playing out there. But there's a reason. Some are out there in the white, some are out there in the blues. Let's remind you which 11 blues are lining up here. One change. Navdeep Saini has the official statement, left shoulder injury. Didn't sound so serious, the statement. He may go for a scan. They will keep an eye on it. But it means an opportunity for Sandeep Warrier to join the ranks. And we hope that at least the plans of Shikhar Dhawan won't be the same as it was for Navdeep Saini. Specialist batsman at number 7, 1 off 1 ball. Zaheer? we do expect Sandeep Warrior to bowl, don't we?
Of course, I think from the last game, and since India is batting first now, I'm looking forward to who is going to be that floater, because I've got this very strong feeling that that's going to be the card and the tactic which is going to be played from India for sure to create that momentum. I think where they lacked in the previous game was in terms of just having, rather than getting confused about who is going to finish the innings for us and there is no power. So they were focusing too much on what they don't have. They have to create that. I think this game they will try and create that, and in the same fashion, when you talk about Sandeep Warrior, I think Shikhar Dhawan would have learned from the previous game that even if there is help in the wicket for the spinners, at times you have to just break that momentum. Too much of spin helps batters also adapt to the conditions and then take charge.
Well, let's see what lessons have been learned. In terms of the opposition, we also have one solitary change for Sri Lanka. It's kind of been the pattern throughout the series. And finally, Pathum Nissanka comes in. Don't get fooled by where his name is right now. He is very much a batter. As Harsha mentioned earlier, they've taken batsman for bowler. So Pathum Nissanka will slot into possibly number 4, somewhere around there. And they'll have to choose between the other bowlers. So I think this seems to lend, at least on paper, Harsha, better balance to this side.
There's so many batsmen. See, sometimes when you have a lot of 2-in-1 players, like Hasaranga, like Mendes, like Shanaka, like Karunaratne, that's 4 2-in-1 players in that side, then sometimes you're actually a team of 10. So I look at that side and I say somebody in that side is going to be told, don't worry, just go and slam because you're batting really deep today. Karunaratne might bat at 9 today. So we've got enough batting, just go for it. Someone like a Samar Vikrama might be told, don't worry, just go for it. We've got so much batting. They've almost got too much, They could almost be paying excess baggage. They've got way too many batsmen. But it makes sense because if your bowlers are delivering that, then if you're chasing, say 160, whatever, you've still got an extra batsman to play the kind of innings like say Dhananjay De Silva played yesterday.
Remember, they used 8 bowlers, a record-breaking 8 bowlers in the second game. So I'm sure they would have had a little discussion and said, do we really need 8 bowlers? Well, that's the question. They've lopped off one bowler. They've got in Pathum Nissanka. Let's see if that works. But interesting.
But one of their better players is now being pushed one slot further down.
We don't know that. I'm willing to wager something, not a lot, but at least my fantasy reputation that
you've picked him
at 6.
You've given it away. You've picked him again, and you're hoping that he'll give you points batting. You pick Karunaratne again, and you don't want him to have a game like the other day. See how hard he's trying to change the topic. You don't want him to have a game like the other day where he pulled 1 over and just came in at the end. I mean, he gave you points.
You should focus on what's going for you. Shanaka promoted himself.
Correct.
Yes.
Shanaka is in my
All you need is just for him to bowl more, right?
I'm CEO of Shanaka's PR agency, as Harsha will testify. I have more faith in him than he has in himself. But I mean, with
the question is when everybody comes back, how does he pick himself? When Kusal Pereira comes back into the side, if they make peace with Angelo Matthews, if some of the guys come back,
by then I'll find another job.
Oh, there he goes. These young fellows, I tell you.
But Zaheer, do you agree with Pathum Nissanka? What do you see them doing with their batting order? I know you've said that you expect India to have an X-factor floater. What do you expect Sri Lanka to do?
Well, I think they will be sticking to the similar kind of batting order. I think we've been wanting them to change it, but they've not been doing that. And after winning a game, you don't want to tinker too much with your batting order and stuff. I think the fact that Udana was there, part of the team, but has bowled just 1 over because of the injury which he had sustained, and they managed to do a good job, that has given them enough confidence. And also to add to that, they were struggling chasing that 130. So that shows that they didn't have enough confidence in their batting either. So they know that okay, they've got this. But if India gets to that par total or just above par total, they will need that batsman to contribute. So that has been the concern. The bowling, I think they've been pretty decent with. Their Sri Lanka's problem in ODI and T20s has been batting, and they've tried to address that by adding one more batter.
The other thing as well is I think the toss was irrelevant here. Because I think Sri Lanka were going to chase come what may, and India were going to bat first come what may. And I think they knew that with India's composition, India had to bat first. And so they picked a chasing side. How do you pick a chasing side? You back your batsmen, back your bowlers, but pick an extra batsman. So I think they picked a chasing side because they knew that come what may, they're going to be chasing.
Fair point. But no matter whether they're chasing or setting, the birthday boy today is likely to play a role, as he has throughout the series, even when it's not been his birthday. Harsha, he's someone who probably plays every match like it's a celebration. We saw from the emotions on the balcony the other day when Sri Lanka were winning, it's like they'd won a World Cup when he was on the balcony, winning the Hasaranga.
And he's a good player. He's a good player because he's floating. I like the fact, they push him up to number 6. He's got decent batting record. He's not the greatest batsman in the world, but he's got a decent record. And he makes things happen. I get the feeling he likes to be in the situation. I first saw him, I keep going back to that series. I first saw him when Pakistan were playing Sri Lanka. I was doing nothing. I just switched on. I'm watching this young Sri Lanka side play. Oshada is playing well. And my eyes went to this kid. I said, oh, this fellow looks like he can play. Because I think they enjoyed being in the situation. The other day yesterday he came into a tough situation. He wanted to be in that situation. I think that is one thing that distinguishes good players from the players who just want to turn up. Do you want to be there? So I just hope he has a very happy birthday, a good career ahead of him. Let's see what happens today.
Yeah, and he seems to have a bit of a calmness because there was a bit of friendly banter, shall we call it, that was happening. I think it was Kuldeep who got him out and had a very emotional celebration.
Rahul Chahar, I think, yeah.
Rahul Chahar, sorry, not Kuldeep. Yeah. Rahul Chahar, who got the wicket and was really animated about the wicket, and he clapped. He just clapped. He said, either he said well bowled or it was a bit of sarcasm, but nonetheless, he seems to have a calmness about him.
Definitely sarcasm. No calmness whatsoever. I think, but the fact that he's out there to win games of cricket. So you can see from his body language how he expresses his emotions. If Sri Lanka is not winning, he's not happy. So that is something which is very evident, and he likes to stay in the fight. He embraces those situations on the ground, and that is something is very important as a player, as a bowler. It's going to help. You need characters like that in the dressing room, especially when things are not going your way, especially when you're not winning games of cricket. If you're having close games and not falling on the right side of the result, you want someone to have it expressed in the dressing room. If the dressing room doesn't change, win or lose, it's the team is never going to have ups and downs. You're never going to have that graph which is going to go up. So I think by that logic, you have Sri Lanka needs more Hasaranga kind of personalities for their cricket to go up.
They had one other, but he went walking around in Durham. That Dick Weller was a bit like that as well. I like Dick Weller actually. So he was a bit like that too. Chirpy behind the stumps, but also in a fight.
Well, yeah, it was. All three of them were all impact players who had that little evening walk, shall we say, in Durham, and that was the real blow for Sri Lanka cricket. But Hasaranga, nice story it was, Harsha. Plucked straight out of school into the big league, but maybe not now, but for the longest time, their school system was always the place, and it was Sana Jayasuriya who in fact spotted him in a school game.
But also, it's what you do with the talent that matters, and how the talent perceives itself. I don't think there's any country in the world that can say there is no talent. It's what you make of these people who are coming up, and that's why I said right on the first day, Sri Lanka will never be short of ability. It's what they do on the ground that matters eventually. So we saw Dick Weller, he looked a very good player. We saw Kusal Mendes, he looked a really good player. Kusal Pereira's played one of the innings of the decade in South Africa when he went there. We've seen Oshada, we've seen Avishkar, we've seen so many of these players coming through. This fellow looks like he's got a little bit more to him because he's a 2-in-1 player. I don't think he's the greatest leg spinner in the world. He's not a big turner, but he's there. He's giving you 4 overs. He's willing to back up. He's a very valuable player. But I would like to see what becomes of him, because in recent times, you look at a lot of Sri Lankan players and they don't become what you think they could have become, all the way from Angelo Matthews down.
Well, we've talked about some of the all-round. Once again, I think Matthews would have been classified in Harsha's book, just like Hasaranga. And let's talk about some of the spinners now, the leading spinners. And just let's have a look at these numbers first since Hasaranga's debut. And again, we had done a similar comparison during the ODI series. And you can see all the other spinners around him, such big names. But how would you interpret these numbers, Harsha?
I'm looking at some of them and seeing what kind of tracks they're playing on. Rashid Khan to me is a league apart. But look at someone like Adam Zampa, who's a really good bowler, 24 matches, 24 wickets. So in these numbers, Hasaranga is holding his own, and he's holding his own quite comfortably. Actually, look at Ish Sodhi. He concedes more runs, but he takes a lot more wickets. And you don't look at Ish Sodhi and you say, wow, one of the greatest in the world. So he started really well. If you look at Kusal Mendes' numbers around this stage of his career, you would have said, wow, we've probably got the new Jayawardena coming up. So he started off really well. Now let's see what he does. I think he's got to play a lot more tough cricket. I'm not sure he's playing enough tough cricket to become the player he can become. So if he can find his way around the world playing more tough cricket, then I think he'll grow better.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting. Harsha should mention Ish Sodhi because we talked at the start of the series about the Sinkits franchise having picked up Panindu Hasaranga for the CPL. The same player, the same slot last year, Zaheer, was filled by Ish Sodhi. They looked at him and they said, well, good guy, picks up wickets, concede runs, but doesn't offer enough at the bat. Doesn't have that X factor that we wanted, which is why Sodhi out, Hasaranga in.
But I think when you look at that list, what struck me was the average and the strike rate. I'm a big fan of someone who is able to take wickets at any stage of the game, and I think Hasaranga has been able to do that very consistently. 21 games, he's got 29 wickets. That's almost 1.5 wickets per game, which at an average which is the best in that list, and also the strike rate. Just taking 14.2 deliveries to get a wicket. And in this format, it's gold. Middle overs or new ball. He bowls with the new ball also. If he's coming on bowling 2 overs or 2.5 overs and giving you 1 wicket, as a captain, any day you'll take that, because that's the momentum shift. That's the momentum shift which you've always seen can cost you games. So in the middle overs, if someone can create that impact, it's always exciting.
Sometime today we may have a little chat about trying to figure out a World T20 squad for India. But overall, for IPL, just a quick one from both of you. IPL contract round the corner for Hasaranga?
I would love to say yes, but I think you need to. I think a lot of people who think he should get a contract, largely outside India, not within India, need to understand the dynamics of how IPL teams are built. You pick the players that you don't have enough of. I mean, you go to PSL, they don't pick any overseas fast bowlers because they've got enough of their own. You come to India, we don't pick a lot of overseas spinners because we've got lots of our own. They may not be as good as Hasaranga, but the overseas players coming in to play a specific role. A Rabada and a Nokia playing a specific role for Delhi. So look at how many wrist spinners exist in India at the moment. You've got Chahal, you've got Chahal, you've got Amit Mishra, you've got Murugan Ashwin, you've got Ravi Bishnoi, you've got Rahul Chahal, you've got Kuldeep Yadav, you've got Varun Chakravarti. You see there's 8 or 9 there. Every team has an Indian wrist spinner. For Hasaranga to come into that team, one overseas player has got to go out. Then you've got to see, is there an Indian skill that exists over there? So say a team like Punjab, for example, has Murugan Ashwin, it has Ravi Bishnoi, but they want a fast bowler. So someone like Hasaranga comes in, you've got to leave out a Vokes or a Richardson or someone like that, who you've picked for a specific reason. So what Hasaranga offers is a very good quality, but he's got to be, because he's an overseas player, you've got to see how rare that quality is.
Well, fair enough. I'm not even going to ask the man who's sitting on the auction table, but are you going to throw out Rahul Chahar and get an Hasaranga?
But after Harsha's explanation, do you need to ask me at all? It's given a whole thesis there, how the IPL team works. It's like case study on all the teams, and it's right out there. So exactly the dynamics is completely different. You've seen the fast bowling all-rounders going for some crazy money. Correct. And it's purely because that commodity is not available in India very easily. So that's how the dynamics work.
He'll be very good in CPL, for example. There you need those kind of players. He might be good in PSL. You need those kind of players over there.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's about the rare commodities. I think Zaheer also summed that up. if it's an endangered species, they cost a lot more. But let's move to Sanju Samson. We talked about Sandeep Warrier. Let's talk about Sanju Samson, who so much was expected of. We were wanting to keep an eye on him. We've seen the pretty little innings. We want to see the pretty big innings from Sanju Samson. Let's throw out some numbers of Sanju Samson and then try and see how much this match might mean to him to cement a spot. This is since his comeback, T20 international comeback into the fold. Harsha.
Doesn't look good. This is not the player we know. And if you look at how many games he's got, he seems to get one game here, one game here, one game here, a couple of games there, but he's not earned the right to get himself a 10-game run, for example. You have to earn that too. I'm very, very fond of him. He's a nice guy. There's lots of nice guys around, but he's got to go and convert that. And I thought yesterday, was a great opportunity for him to play Dhananjay De Silva-like innings with the extra power that he has. So I'm very keen to see what he does today. I'm just thinking, because Padikkal is an opener, you're batting him at 3, but is Samson going to create more of an impact at 3 than Padikkal? Those are, I think, questions that you need to answer. But he's got to make the most of today.
Has the leadership role in the IPL maybe helped him? I mean, is that the kind of thing that will make him mature more, but take away a little bit of his free-flowingness, Zaheer?
So let's talk about the numbers, the kind of numbers which you showed on the screen. And you, I don't really like to talk about different eras, but if you put the same kind of numbers, maybe a decade back, and you ask a player, who is trying to make his mark at the international level, putting up these kind of numbers, the opportunities were not coming that easier. Now I think it's a time where we are living in where the comebacks also are happening that quicker. So Sanju Samson that way just 26, and he's got ample time for him to again rework on these numbers or work on his game. Maybe the captaincy there, when you're mentioning, is going to add that much more responsibility, and he will find that trigger to go that notch higher. But the bridge we often talk about crossing, that domestic first class or a certain level player going to the higher level and making an impact. Sanju Samson has been maybe somewhat confused, or maybe something needs to fall into place for him to cross over and show what we've been seeing in IPLs and in domestic cricket.
Just to conclude, our little discussion, since ultimately we are coming back to that T20 World Cup, he would have been in a certain position, a certain part in the pecking order. Has he fallen a few steps back in that?
I don't know, because if KL Rahul is going to be in your T20 World Cup side and Rishabh Pant is definitely going to be in your T20 World Cup side, then maybe I don't see a role for a third wicket keeper in there. Either Ishan Kishan or Sanju Samson, if KL Rahul is going to be there in the squad anyway. So I don't know if he's done his chances any harm, but he's definitely not done his chances too much good unless he does something really special today.
Well, a lot of pressure on one single day. A good innings from Sanju Samson. We've said it's a different surface, but how much better a surface, we don't quite know. Are we willing to punt on that, gentlemen, with our 20-over score prediction? We went wrong last time around, but as we all agreed, we can't really do much about the surface. So who'd like to volunteer to go first?
Zaheer, because his friend did the pitch report. His friend Murli Karthik did the pitch report and said 150, 160 kind of surface.
I will say 170.
Fair enough.
I'm applying my same theory what I used in the previous game yesterday to today's game. Fresh wicket, maybe wicket plays better. 170 is possible.
Fair enough. Harsha?
154.
Ooh, 154. Now there's a very tempting place for me to slot in right in between. I won't get bullied around this time. And I will get in there because I do believe it's going to be a score somewhere in between. So I'll take a 163. A 163. And that's only because I'm of my conviction. Harsha, don't smile. I know you were going to try and talk me out of it. No, if you really want to go low, go low.
No. Zach just said I give a thesis, so I'm not saying anything.
You just saved him. You just saved him a few words. That's all. It was perfectly summed up for all of us, exactly as we wanted.
No, that's cool.
It's a point you can't argue with. We, unfortunately, in India, think of theses as these long, boring explanations.
I was just looking at headlines tomorrow saying Mumbai Indians think tank targets Hasaranga, all everywhere. If Zach had spoken, or Mumbai Indians think tank snubs Hasaranga. Either way, you don't know.
No, I think it's the latter. It's the latter. No one wants to pick you. IPL snubs Hasaranga. That's it. That's all we have for you now. But we won't snub our trivia guru, because his question is waiting somewhere around the corner. Let's put it up before we wrap up our show here. And this is what Sri Bhattacharya has in store for us. There we go. If in a particular record category, and Harsha, I'm sure you're looking at me to answer this one, Serbia, Canada, and Namibia are the first three countries represented. Which legendary player's name would you see at number 4? Serbia, Canada, and Namibia. There are a few records where I can think of. Canada, definitely Namibia. Serbia, I haven't a clue, even though I should.
Anyone born there?
Well, we don't
There
know.
have been a few cricketers come from there. Okay.
Yeah, well, food for thought for all of you. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Send it in there if you love trivia. But if you love a little bit more than trivia, if you like fabulous in-depth interviews, conversations with Harsha Bhogle, who's very much here with us, having a conversation with us today. But all those conversations with those stars are in there. And highlights, lots of highlights from this series on Cricbuzz Plus. So subscribe and get in there. We've got our score predictions out. India won the toss, batting first. One final chance for these batsmen to try and make a beeline for that T20 World Cup spot. Excitement lies ahead. We'll see you in the 10th over Cricbuzz Combox. That's all from Cricbuzz Live.